2 chapters on the Henry Obakaya and then some later writers and showing how the instability of what conversion means. And then I have the broader, kind of more Emersonian chapter that I'm going to read from. And then I have a Paleofa, and then ultimately I end with Bob Dylan and the instability of the conversion experience and the Judeo-Christian conversion experience in Dylan. So somewhere between almost like the prophetic Judaic voice and the kind of ironic, unstable voice of the trickster poet, the Blake and Dylan-esque ironies were the kind of polarities of what I was talking about. Now you might ask yourself, how could you possibly have a Tongan writer in a book called American Poetics? And actually there's more Tongans that live in the Bay Area than live in Tonga. And the Pele has a very complex version of Oceania where the people on the periphery of the Pacific Rim in the big cities are still tied to Tonga. That was really crucial. And then here and there I reflect on Taiwan in the book, very little, but more when I'm talking about Asia Pacific. And then I have the quote from, in the Dylan chapter, some of the street demonstrators, I think it was 2007, were singing, how many rocky roads must a man walk down, how many rocky roads must Taiwan walk down before they have genuine democracy? So they were singing the Dylan song. And so I thought, it was a kind of a translation of Dylan's, songs to make it serve the Taiwan situation. So, and then the epilogue I kind of end with an autobiographical reflection on some of the conversion dynamics in my own life. So I'm going to read you just certain parts of this book, and then provide some kind of context for what I'd like to talk about, and then I'll deal with the questions. So in this particular chapter 3, this is the one called Be Always Converting, Be Always Converted, and I'm trying to show the mobility and potentiality of conversion, in the modern era. So the other thing I should mention, this is a broader context, is that I know a lot of Americans, including myself, that the hunger for a kind of conversion experience was crucial. And so, but the way we have of talking about and writing about literary theory and poetics and politics of literary theory almost totally represses any discussion of religion. So you will talk about Jameson and Derrida as if that's sufficient for providing a kind of a view of personal or social reality. Whereas I knew many critics, including many in Santa Cruz, that feminists, Marxists, that they're serious Zen Buddhists, or in the case of Don Keyes, they've been through TM, drugs and yoga, et cetera, et cetera. So I knew in my own experience that a lot of theopoetics, what I call theological poetics, was really crucial to these people's view of reality and life. So I kind of wanted to have a way where we could discuss that matter, because people thought about conversion as something George Bush II did. It was an ugly thing that religious fanatics did to try to create a theocracy in America. So I was trying to rescue conversion away from the theocracy, sort of more towards Jack Kerouac and Donald Pease and Bettina Aptheker, Jody Green, et al. Okay, now, so this is the broad understanding of conversion and mutability. In conversion, broadly speaking, one encounters a life force of amplified beings, such as New Haven's ship coming into harbor for Henry of Achaia, or his meeting the praying families of New England, or Bob Dylan seeking out the folk mentorship of Woody Guthrie in a New Jersey sickbed, or Allen Ginsberg meeting Kerouac and Snyder on the beat roads leading westward to San Francisco and riding Hull. The surrealist beat poet Philip Lamantia was so shaken by his dark mystical conversion to Catholicism in 1955 in a near-death experience after he was bitten by a scorpion in Mexico City that he actually burned up his earlier poems as so many mortal sins. Conversion, as Lamantia embodied it, means a turning with and as some force of newness. Conversion, well, after he had the Catholic conversion, Lamantia also had a Muslim conversion. And I don't know, he's a complicated figure. Conversion, activating myriad forms of metamorphosis, affirms, plugs into, and enacts various energies of becoming, eruptive ideas, recomposition, and a creativity latent or now damaged in the self. You know, as St. Paul said, he becomes a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Reverberates a staggering present tense claim for conversion down through centuries of repetition for the incoming power of the inaugurating reborn subject. An unexpected version of such life change is New England Puritanism offspring Rose Hawthorne Lathrop. That's Nathaniel Hawthorne's daughter. She became a nun and opened the free home for incurable cancer on the Lower East Side after her conversion to Roman Catholicism in 1891. And her father and Rose had been very fond of Italy and the churches, but I'm not sure Nathaniel would have expected his daughter to turn into a nun, but anyway, she did. And then ex-gospel singer Sam Cooke, when he heard Bob Dylan's prophetic lyrics in a civil rights march with Martin Luther King, he wrote a song called "A Change Gonna Come." And the change is like the change of rebirth, and he meant it not just personally, but politically. And Obama, you know, later on would quote from that same Sam Cooke lyric, "A change gonna come." So that any conversion experience is by no means a fixed, grimly ideological or unidirectional process of self-formation, expressing a will to unchanging identity or belief. Rebirth records, more commonly, an unstable process of subjective becoming and semiotic recoding that takes place between troubled poles of denativization, dramatic forms of symbolic death, and a turn to renativization. Conversion as such tracks a mobile trajectory between belief and prior rejection, birth, howling out, and the drive to affirm rebirth. Otherwise phrased, conversion activates some life-changing encounter with events and forces circulating through discourse and signs, coming down from a colonial regime or ecumene to our own more post-colonial times. And then, as Minister Thomas Shepard had memorably urged his congregation at Cambridge, with all the rhetorical turns and puns of a Cambridge University graduate, and this is a quote from Shepard around 1640, "Be always converting and be always converted. Turn us again, O Lord. Not that a Christian should be always pulling up foundations and ever doubting, but to make sure of regenerating. Be always converting, more humble, more sensible of sin."